It says we're live, Andy Smith. What's happening, man?
Man, just hanging out. Same old, Clint.
The last time I had you anywhere on this newfangled technology of videos, you were doing a Father's Day video with me. You were helping me to put that together. Thank you for being part of that, by the way.
Yeah, man, that was fun, and seeing all the different dads that you had on there, man, that was just really cool. What a great idea.
I come up with one about every 3 or 4 years. I'm kind of screwed though, because now I don't have any good ones for the next couple years. Hey, so before I get rid of you today off this video, we're going to talk about YCAP.
Yep.
We're going to talk about your new YouTube channel, maybe.
Yep.
I want to talk about some projects you have going on. I want to talk some big picture stuff with boxing. But before all of that, who you got? Tyson or Roy Jones Jr., baby?
Golly, man. I saw that yesterday, and I tell you, man, I've said this all along, both of those guys have no business doing this.
Oh, stop it.
Let's be honest. But now, a buddy of mine hit me up and said, Andy, it's live sports, man. And now's the time for it. And so I started thinking about it. I said, okay, well, Clint, Roy's going to run away from him. He's going to stay away from him. And if Tyson can catch him, he'll knock him out. I don't know.
But man, Roy Jones has knocked out a lot of people too. He's got that left, that sneaky left, man.
Yeah, but Tyson's a different chin. That is a different chin.
Tyson's also a different punch. I don't think he's been hit by somebody like Tyson.
No, he has not.
My money's on Tyson.
From the training videos, Tyson looks like he's for real, man.
I don't know what they're putting in his system, but I know he ain't getting tested before that fight. I can tell you that right now.
No, not for an exhibition fight.
It ain't no testing going on. His blood has got different colored stuff in it. I can promise you that right now. That dude looks amazing for 50-something years old.
Yes, he does.
But anyway, I thought I would get your take on it. So let's do this. Let's stay on the boxing front because I want to talk about YCAP in just a second. We have had these conversations. You and I have had these conversations about boxing, looking back on it, because I think you're about 10 years younger. How old are you?
I'll be 39 this year.
Yeah, you're about 10. Okay, well, 12 years younger than me. 13, 15, carry the 1, -7. Damn young kid. Well, so but you've been in boxing for a long time. Your dad, Joe Smith, was one of the managers to the Olympic boxing team. You've been involved in boxing for most of all your life, as training, manager, boxing yourself. So we've had conversations where we've talked about our favorite boxers going back in the past. And I default to when I could watch boxing on Friday nights or on Sunday afternoons, and I didn't have to pay-per-view. I could watch Thomas the Hitman Hearns. I could watch Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard. I could watch, the Larry Holmes. I could watch those things, and I didn't have to pay a lot of money. But I never asked you this, because I had this conversation with a buddy of mine last week. The best jab or the best right, the straight right. Because here's where I landed. And I remember my dad saying this when I was a little kid about Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes, in his mind, had the best jab of a heavyweight ever. It was a stiff jab. Do you like stuff like that? Do you watch things for stuff like that?
Best jab, in my opinion, is Evander Holyfield. I mean, the dude just. I mean, I would venture to say Holmes would be top 3, but I mean, to me, Evander beat guys with one hand, and it was the jab. And you go back and watch, he wasn't really a true heavyweight, Clint. I mean, he grew into a heavyweight. He was a lot shorter than a lot of those guys, man. And Evander beat guys with the jab. So
how much did he weigh? I mean, Tyson was kind of light at 220, 215.
Tyson probably was around 220 somewhere at his prime. Evander, Evander could have fought cruiserweight around the 195 mark.
He usually fought what, 210?
Yeah, just barely over 200. So, and you think about that, man, and what he did with his jab to keep people off balance.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue that he doesn't have probably the best of all time.
I saw him on the Joe Rogan podcast because they I go back and watch some of those old ones, and it was a great interview. But it didn't bother me. But you can tell though, being hit in the head that many times, and it doesn't affect everybody. It looks like George Foreman may have gotten away with it up until this point, but you can tell at some point it takes a toll, because the way he was talking, has nothing to do with his IQ. It had to do with his motor skills. I could just tell he didn't sound the same way he did 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I felt
those
bad for
dudes,
him.
man. I mean, Vander, we had him in Chattanooga back early 2000s for a couple of events that we did. And even back then, Clint, you could tell that he was already beginning to have some early onset, not so much dementia, but just like you said, fine motor skills, doesn't pronounce well. And that's not, I mean, Evander came up, he was an educated young man, but yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it definitely has affected him long term.
I was at a few of those events. We rode in a limo with him a little bit when he came in town. And that's what I was kind of comparing it to. Yeah. Because, I mean, then it wasn't – I can just tell a difference from the, 30 minutes I was around him at that point, which was 15 years ago, 12 years ago maybe, 10, whatever it was. And what I heard on the podcast. I'll never forget when we did one of our pro fights, the promotion stuff, we had a table set aside because we thought Evander was coming in. And rumor got around that was going to be the table for Evander, right? And I remember people coming up to me going, "Hey man, you think I can change tables?" No, you can't change tables. Everybody, those ones that are sitting next to that table are the ones that paid a lot of money. In case Evander comes, the people that wrote the big checks get to reach over and say hi to Evander. All right. So the other thing I was going to ask you said a lot of people have heard of YCAP. And a lot of people have heard of it because of the boxing program. And I want to, we'll circle back to that in just a second, but they don't know a lot of the other things that the YCAP, the YMCA YCAP program does. I'll throw some stuff out there, and I want to kind of get away from what me and you normally do on radio, because we have a little longer now, but you guys do tutoring. You have the folks from Songbirds coming down and teaching kids guitar and music. You have people giving meals, different churches, schools, individuals will make meals, dinners. You have a wood shop that you use to teach math. You have a garden. And now if you go to your Facebook page, the YMCA YCAP Facebook page, you are taking these kids on adventures. Now, the reason I say all that is a lot of us grew up going on camping trips with our family, or even if you grew up with a single mom, a lot of times my friends grew up, they got to go on vacations, right? We had somebody helping us at home with math, or we'd stay after school with a teacher. We take it for granted that a lot of these kids that you deal with on a daily basis go home. There's no one there, whether because they're working, maybe it's no fault of their own, or maybe it is a fault of the adults that have checked out. I don't know. But there's no one there to help them with their math. There's no one there to take them on a vacation. So you guys are exposing them to all of these different opportunities. Now, with all that being said, take it where you want to go. But what's the meaning behind YCAP? And then let's talk through those programs just real briefly.
Yeah. So, we just, Clint, we work with middle school age kids, and we say middle school 10 to 15. So some elementary school kids all the way up through, that ninth grade level. And they're referred to us from principals, guidance counselors, teachers, but they've been identified as at risk. They're coming to us not because they sang too loud in church. They're coming to us because they
You've added one. You've added that one. You got your little spiel down. You've added that one. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So they're all struggling, and man, they just need somebody to cheer them on and be a life coach to them and help them steer back in the right direction. And we all have our own struggles, and some are a little bit different than others, and some are a little bit worse than others. But you're exactly right. These kids, some of them, man, they're not real sure where their next meal is going to come from. Some of them are not real sure where they're going to pillow their head at night. And so if we can help navigate them through all that and try to give them all the resources that they need to become successful, then we feel like we're doing our job. And so we do that through our process with all the different things that you mentioned that we offer.
Well, so let's touch on just a few of those a little deeper, so people know if they're listening to this and they want to go, okay, I don't have money, but I have time, or I don't have time, but I have money, or I know people that could help. They know how it can help. But before we go down that road, I think, and I've heard your dad say this and I've heard you say it, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but it is really hard to ask the 10-year-old boy or girl, but we'll talk mostly boys right now. It's hard to ask the 10 or 11-year-old boy to come into school, sit down and care about math when they haven't had a shower. The lights may have been turned off. They may have not eaten. And I'm not talking about the kids in YCAP. I'm talking about the kids that YCAP can't reach. There is a segment of people and groups out there of all races, all socioeconomic factors. You would be surprised on what zip codes that the YMCA, the YCAP program is active in. It would surprise a lot of people that this type of lifestyle doesn't care what your race is. It doesn't care anything about politics. All it knows is these kids are having expectations of be still in school now. Don't you act out. Do exactly what you're supposed to do. In reality, they're like, why? There's no structure. And I feel bad sometimes. And then you start thinking about it, how lucky I was to grow up in a world where I didn't have those struggles.
Yeah. And I mean, you nailed it, Clint. The kids that we see, they're struggling in school, whether it's academically or behaviorally, because of the things that are going on outside of school.
Yep.
And, it may be that, daddy's in prison. It may be that mama's strung out on drugs, or mama doesn't have a job, or
mama may have two jobs.
Or mama may have two jobs and they don't have time. Mama's providing for the family, but providing so much that there's no time to structure the kid.
That's right.
So the stories are endless. And so if we can step in and be that bridge to that parent, into the school, and to make sure that there's no disconnect from home to school to YCAP back home, and repeat that daily, then we feel like we're giving them the best opportunity to be the best version of themselves.
Well, and you're sneaky about some of it, because you have a wood shop where they get to build stuff like birdhouses and chopping blocks, which, by the way, if you're listening to this in your company, or you're wanting to purchase one or plan on purchasing one, go to the YMCA YCAP Facebook page, because they have seasons where they do that. But the wood shop that Tommy helps with, and by the way, Tommy helps with everything.
He runs the place.
Shout out to Tommy.
I get the credit.
Well, but it's also, they get to learn how to build something with their hands. They get to make a little money on their own efforts, but you're also sneaking in math, the basic skill stuff that a lot of us take for granted. They're distracted with doing something cool. Meanwhile, they're learning fractions and measurements and angles. They're learning these things that Tommy is working into that. Same thing with the garden. You're teaching kids that it doesn't come from Food City. Yep. It comes from somebody planning something.
Yep.
And nurturing that.
Yep. Everything that we do, Clint, is what we call therapy disguised in fun. And so if we can provide the therapeutic aspect where we bring them into the wood shop, and we're teaching them how to read a tape measure, and we're teaching them how to put things together, then the self-accomplishment and the self-worth that they feel when they look at the finished product and they say, okay, instead of running a bag of dope down the street for an easy $20, I can make things legally with my hands and get paid to do it.
And feel good about myself.
Oh, no question. That's the real home run, is their self-worth. And I mean, so we have the garden, and we've got, Songbirds, who comes and does guitar lessons.
Real quick question. I just want to put this picture in people's mind. You've got this boxing ring we're going to talk about. You got this boxing area, 2 rings. Yep. And if you go in there certain times a day, you will walk in and see kids sitting around with guitars in the ring, practicing the guitar with somebody.
Picking the guitar. It's priceless.
Yeah.
So, cool. So we got the guitar, with Scenic City Clay Arts, Clint. We go down there once a week. It's on Main Street, and that's been a great partnership. So our kids get to work on a spinning wheel, and they're molding clay, and then they fire their, they put the thing in the fire, and it molds. So again, art, it's just another place that the kids can plug into. And so at the end of the day, we want every kid that comes to us feel like, man, I have somewhere I can belong. We know they're not all going to be boxers. They all think they are till they get punched in the mouth. And then they realize, okay, maybe this is not for me. Let me find something else to plug into, which is why we have such an array of services.
I've done a podcast with a friend of mine, and I know you know her too, Dr. Elaine Swafford, the Girls Leadership Academy. And she's big on this, and I've heard her say it for years. It's exposing kids that may not have the exposure to these things. In other words, a lot of the kids that the folks you deal with, they go back in these neighborhoods. Those other kids don't get to go to swimming holes. They don't get to take these vacations or these ventures out into the world. They don't have these things. And without that, their world is very, very limited and very small. So I think one of the biggest things YCAP does is open the world up to it. It picks the kids' eyes from just down to where I'm at to where I could be.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is one of the biggest things that you guys do, is just letting them know there's a world out there that's so much bigger than wherever you're at that moment.
Yeah, I think just giving them the what we call, seeing it from 10,000 feet, and being able to see that, man, there's so much more to little old Chattanooga, and there's so much more to my little old community that, man, I can, with resources and people backing me and giving me support, I can go be and do whatever I want.
Has it been challenging during the quarantine, man? How's that changed the world? And school is iffy. I mean, where have you seen the gaps where you might need a little more help, or where are some things that you've been surprised on how good it went, when you were worried?
I mean, great question, Clint. We've done like everybody else. We're just navigating uncharted territory. When it first hit, we decided to keep programming, which went about 2 more weeks after the shutdown, until our city and county mayors decided to completely shut down Chattanooga. When they did that, we went on a complete shutdown at YCAP for the whole month of April. What we did in place of that is our staff every day gathered food. We had different volunteers that paid for meals, and we delivered full meals to our families twice a week for 4 weeks.
Wow.
And so being able to see the kids at their front door, even though we weren't, we were still keeping our distance and all that, but being able to meet needs, if kids aren't in school, some of them aren't getting fed, bellies aren't getting full because there's no food in the fridge. So being able to meet those needs was really cool. But what we learned through that, Clint, interestingly, is about 98% of our kids, of the 75 kids across 3 sites, only about 2 to 3 kids actually did their schoolwork during that out of school time, for many reasons. Some of which, their parents either weren't home or weren't forcing them to do the work. Some of them didn't have the resources, no internet, or no iPad, no computer. So just a lot of hoops that we had to jump through.
Yeah, you just froze up a little bit. You were talking about internet. So it was either internet or iPad, or it could have been accountability. One of the reasons that they just couldn't do the work, and that doesn't bode well for maybe if we have to go down that road, in the future. But I do know though, when things get tough, when you're knocking on their front door, it's got to look good to them. They're like, okay, it's not just when I can go to them or they care. They're willing to come to me when things aren't easy too. That's got to feel good to the family. I'm sure the families are appreciative of it. But I think that's a question that's got to be answered moving forward. How is the YMCA and YCAP going to try to be part of the solution to that?
Yeah, I mean,
that's tough, man.
Yeah, it is. And we started back May 1st, Clint, and with our kids, and now we split them. So of 25 kids at a specific site, we're only doing 12 at a time.
Well, you had 3 sites. A lot of people may not know that.
Ooltewah, of course, downtown Chattanooga, and then you got Ooltewah, and then you got Cleveland. So, at all 3 sites kind of mirror each other. They're all doing the same things. All setup's the same. Ooltewah and Cleveland are co-ed, where downtown is male only. But so we spend the first 4 hours of every day doing schoolwork. And so our staff has generated lesson plans based on what the kids missed during the month of April and May at school. And we've developed lesson plans around that. And so they're spending 4 hours a day doing schoolwork.
Wow. So I'm assuming y'all have enough volunteers, but more tutors, more people saying, how can I help, would not be a bad thing.
No, I mean, tutor wise, I think we're okay right now. Meals. We're collecting food bags. We send them home with food bags twice a week. Just, has little snacks. So non-perishable items.
Is it also that getting ready to be that time of season, if they do go back, backpacks, right?
Oh, yeah. Back to school stuff, school supplies, pencils, paper, scissors, all that stuff that you would
hand sanitizer,
that's
mask.
Yeah. Can't get enough of that stuff.
All right, man, let's do this. Let's wrap it up in the next couple minutes, going back to boxing with the YCAP. So a lot of times, and I'm asking you a rhetorical question, you'll have people that say you're taking kids who may be prone to being exposed to violence in their neighborhoods or in communities they come from, no matter where that's at, and now you're teaching them how to be violent. And I think what would surprise a lot of people, and I'll let you jump in, that teaching them the discipline of boxing actually discourages a lot of the gratuitous violence, don't you say? Wouldn't you think that?
You get a kid that thinks he's God's gift to everything, and nobody can whip him. He's invisible, and he gets in there and he gets hit in the mouth, and he's humbled really quick. And then so we begin to teach them how to channel their anger through a punching bag, and then by the way, respect the man that's trying to hit me in my face. The lessons are just invaluable. It's like any other sport, but the difference is at the end of the day, when they compete, they answer for themselves. And we tell them that, you answer for you. I can just get you there. Then you got to take over once you get in that ring.
I'll tell you this, a couple of things, if you don't mind me throwing this in here, and then we'll wrap it up because I know you got stuff to do. But I've watched you guys work with them. One, teaching them how to control their anger is so vital. If you get mad in a boxing match, you're probably going to lose. Yeah. So teaching a 9 or 10-year-old who may not have anybody directing them on how to control that. I'm not going to preach to you about life and what you did in school today. I'm going to show you over here, there's consequences for it. And then I'm going to show you how to control that. And what happens is you actually have more discipline inside your emotions that really alleviates a lot of the, I got to punch you back at school because you called my mom a name.
It does, man. And then they also, Clint, not just that, but they also learn that, if I can respect somebody punching me in my face, I can respect the adults in my life trying to help me. If I can work hard in the gym, I can work hard in the classroom.
And that's the part, and I'm glad you said that, because the things I've watched you teach with them, to finish up that thought, was one, listen to people in your corner, right? Yep. If you don't listen, you get beat up. Second, practice against people who are better than you.
Yeah.
That's a great life lesson you're teaching them right there. And then nothing comes easy. Yeah. If you don't do the jump ropes and you don't hit the bag and you don't put in the road work, that's okay.
That's okay.
But you're not, it's going to show in the fight eventually.
All the time.
Every time. Dadgummit. I hate that too.
I know.
I did that a short time, and I text you every now and then. I did a year or so worth of boxing, a couple years through the YCAP and the old man boxing, and I wish it was so much fun, dude. It's you guys, you and Chad and Roger and Joseph and Joe Smith will never know, and Abby will never know how much me and my cousin. It was the right time of life, man. And I learned so much, and it is still some of the best stuff in my last 5 or 10 years of my life.
That big yellow belt behind you, man. World champion. Yes, sir.
that had nothing. I actually told Johnny Jones, I told him, and he told me to quit saying this. I said, listen, that had nothing to do with boxing. That just had to do with the fighting. That was all that was.
Man. No, dude. You earned that.
Hey, I've got a video that shows me getting hit. And I will say this. There is something about when they say go to that corner, and all the seconds out, that you're standing there like, what the hell have I done? What am I doing? I'm old. But I got a video of me. That guy hit me 6 straight times in the face before I threw a first punch. And finally, my cousin was like, you can hit him back. And once I hit him back and I realized he didn't like it as much as I did, then we were okay. We were okay.
Yeah. You wrote a beautiful article about that, Clint. We need to bring that back out, by the way. I'd like to share that with people. I don't remember what it was published in,
it was Chattanooga.com.
Yeah, we need to bring that back out. That was beautifully written because that was all that was fresh and and it parallels with life so much, man.
Yeah, it does, and I love it, and I love what you're doing. I miss the gym. Hitting the heavy bag I tell everybody it's the cheapest therapy that you could ever possibly invest in. If you can get a heavy bag or get down there and get somebody to train you, I promise you it will get the beast out of the basement. If people tell everybody how to find out, if they do say, I got $100 or I've got a couple hours a month and I want to help invest or I want to help YCAP, how do they get a hold of anybody?
YMCA, YCAP Chattanooga on Facebook. You can go to ymcachattanooga.org. We're there. And then I give people my phone number all the time, 423-847-7682. Call us. Man, we'll find a place to plug in.
Hey, real quick, I hate to do these live videos and not give shout outs to people who've made comments. My buddy Rob Hatch, he said, when I was 9 years old, and Rob's a big dude, I was so big I had to fight older kids. I never want to fight. That's okay. It made you a tough guy now, man. And then,
Yeah, man.
Do you know a guy named Stephen Burton?
Yes. Yeah,
Coach
yeah,
Andy.
yeah.
He said, hey, Coach Andy.
Yeah, that's the man right there.
So there we go. All right. Hey, Andy Smith, buddy, I appreciate it, dude.
Hey, man, enjoyed it, Clint. We'll do it again. Keep up the great work.
Talk to you later, buddy.
All right, man. See ya.
Bye.